What's going on, everybody? Welcome to DCGG Direct, episode 7. I am not Cirque, and I'm joined by our trusty co host, Justin, aka The Real Pipe Gamer.
What's up, everybody?
And this week we have a special guest, Tom, aka Detective Tomato.
Hey
Um,
everyone, how's it going?
yeah, Tom is also a founding member of DC Gaming Group. He focuses primarily on community management, so we'll talk a bit about that and some of our approaches to community management and some of our expected behaviors and things of that sort. But of course, like just like with any other episode, we want to kind of talk about Tom's background with video games. So, Tom, tell us your story on how you got interested in video games.
Hmm. Well, for me, it all starts like way back before I even remember anything. Like all I know is I was just plopped down in front of the NES and started playing Mario before I could form any memories of my own. That is where it all started. And since then, um, like I've played a lot of Nintendo games. I got into like Xbox and shooters with Halo when that released. And I've just been like hooked, and I play all sorts of different genres of games, and I like to dabble around a lot. And with the advent of online multiplayer, like that really like changed the game for me too. So I've been around for a little while. I'm not OG old school like with the Atari days, but even now and then I'll like go back and either look for emulators or these old consoles and like just check them out. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Now, when you say you were plopped down in front of an NES, who was this? Was it your like an older brother, older
Uh,
sister, mom, dad?
well, it was my mom, and she says so regrettably because I don't think she appreciated how much I got into them since then.
So did your mom game?
No, she does not game.
Okay,
Yeah, I think at the time it was more a move of desperation to get me distracted.
fair enough.
That makes sense. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your top three video game consoles?
Oh, already, I gotta really think about it. Hey, so okay. So I really like, I'll try to figure out an order, but I really like the Switch. We're talking about this in the DC Gaming Group server, but the Switch is kind of like the perfect culmination of all these things that I've wanted since I was a kid. Like, if you ever um, are playing like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, and you're like, oh man, these graphics look great, but I just wish I could take it with me to school. You can do that with the Switch now. And its versatility, its portability, it's lightweight, it's got all these fun colors, a lot of like exclusive um limited controllers. It's a very fun console, and because it's still so fresh in its lifespan, there's so much potential for it. Hence why I'm waiting for, this is going to be cheating a little bit, but some of that like backwards compatibility with their online libraries, like the virtual NES, the virtual SNES libraries, hoping for a Game Boy Advance one, and etc. at some point. So the Switch is definitely big up there for me. As for my other two favorite consoles, like the PS2 is really like a god among consoles. If I'm not mistaken, it might still be like number one selling console of all time, but that number would be shifting really like we'd be getting close to the Switch's number of total sales at this point as well. The PS2 had such a robust library of games, and it was one of the first consoles to have online multiplayer. I didn't have, you know, fast enough internet when that was a thing, but the fact that it was possible, I would have never dreamed like playing something like Medal of Honor, Metal Gear Solid online, stuff like that. On top of, like I said, the variety of different games, such as Metal Gear Solid is one of my favorite series. and you had stuff like Jack and Daxter. You had all these wonderful platformers. You had a lot of really good shooters, uh, excellent racing games. There's just so much variety, and there's like so many hits on the PS2, and you can't really deny how successful of a console it was, especially for its time. And as for my a third favorite console, I guess this one is also a little bit more personal to me, but I really like the Xbox 360 because that was the console that got me into online multiplayer gaming. I did have the original Xbox when the first, well, I would say Halo 2 was when I like started really getting into Halo. But when I was old enough to start like making my own money, is when I started getting my own games, and that's when the 360 became like actually special to me. Like this was my console now. I was putting games that I owned into this thing. So, that like I spent a lot of money on I spent a lot of money on the 360 on even just like the online uh, subscription service alone. So I have a lot of time spent on Halo 3, Halo Reach. And then when I started doing the games for gold stuff, it's just like downloading everything.
Yeah.
Demos, Fusion Frenzy, all these like, oh my gosh. It was so much fun. Like what a time.
The summer of arcade, like
Yeah.
still, I still think back. I was just listening today to the Game Informer podcast, and they have on, I forget his name, but he's one of the heads at Supergiant.
Oh, Greg
The
Kasavin.
sorry, say it again.
Greg Kasavin, I think.
Yeah. So he's one of the heads at Supergiant, not Supergiant. Yeah. No, Supermassive
Okay, yeah.
is the name of the studio, right? That's what I'm thinking
The
of.
people that made Hades.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
Supermassive.
oh, Super Hades. That would be Super Giant. Yeah.
Is it Supergiant?
Yeah, Super Giant
Yeah,
made
Super Giant. Yeah.
Hades. Yeah.
Supergiant. Okay, so I was right the first time around.
Okay.
Supergiant, and it's talking about because they were talking about Hades, and they're doing like a whole retrospective on that studio. But I remember just that first summer of arcade. Things were coming out. Everything was kind of nice and cute, but then Bastion,
Yeah.
came along, and I turned it on, and I fell in love with that game instantly. It was something brand new I'd never seen before. The narration, like that's more reactive than anything. The almost Zelda-like kind of combat on there, but like I don't know, with some stank on it. Zelda with like a little bit of an attitude. I just love them so much, and to think that like that game wouldn't have gotten as big as it was if it wasn't for Microsoft and their Summer of Arcade and things like Shadow Complex.
Mm.
I know that doesn't have the biggest cultural impact now, but I refuse to believe that didn't kick off like a lot of people's need to want to go back and do like Metroidvanias, which is huge now. It's like this crazy resurgence. I refuse to believe that didn't like wasn't kicked off in some way with Shadow Complex. Like just the Summer Arcade was just the most amazing thing. Microsoft really early on showing that we're here for gamers and games before they fell off the wagon, and
Yeah, they kind of
but
lost that focus on the Xbox One, but we'll forgive them for that. For now, they're making amends.
yeah,
It,
they gave us Game Pass, so
Right.
yeah, I mean the reason why we have Game Pass is because the Xbox One generation was just so bad in terms of PR and output and just overall like messaging. Like the boxes was not designed as a gaming machine. It was supposed to be the one entertainment center. Tux, you gotta get down. I'm sorry, not right now.
we have
Um,
another Tux cameo for the
yeah.
for audio people.
um, It's funny as you brought up. I'm looking at the list of summer of arcade, and we we gotta shout out Castle Crashers.
Yeah,
Yes,
that was
yes.
fun.
In 2009, this so 2009 they came out with they re-released Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
I remember
which
that.
I went
Mm.
nuts over. Uh, I remember that summer, like that when that came out, and I was actually interning at NASA, and I was just watching the trailers like all day, just waiting until they dropped Marvel MVC 2. And then that same summer, Shadow Complex, and then Splosion Man. Have you all tried Splosion Man?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
A
just
very
love
quirky
Splosion Man.
platformer.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It was hard.
Yeah. It was me and my roommate actually. We beat the first one, but I have Missplosion Man on Switch, and I got like
That's even
maybe
harder.
20.
Oh
Yeah, I got
yeah.
like 20% in there. Um, so yeah, one day we'll have to all co-op because it's a 4-player co-op.
I did
Um,
not know that.
yep.
Hmm.
And then they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time Reshelled, Trials HD. Yeah, Summer of Arcade was fucking amazing. Like that actually changed the way that I game now. Like
Hmm.
indie games just like open up a whole different um avenue to game, and then now we're at the Switch where you can play all of these games on most of them
Yeah.
on the
Man, talking
Switch.
about indie game on the Switch, I feel like we're getting a little bit off topic for like what we're supposed to be talking about. But I mean, like, did everyone watch the indie showcase? What was it? Yesterday, the day before?
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
I actually
Yesterday.
missed it. So what were some of the highlights of that?
Oh, Tom, like I almost want to just make you watch it, man. Like
Yeah.
it is literally, I don't know, like, how long is it? 20 minutes, 25
Yeah, about
minutes?
yeah.
Every single game shown
Hmm.
is going to pique your interest. You might not necessarily be like, oh, I have to play that. But you're going to go like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Or I have seen that before, but they are ratcheting it up to 12. Like, it's just a couple of minutes of just throwing all this amazing talent, and you have no choice to be like, this is amazing. Indie games have come so far.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
um it's a it's a great it's a great avenue. I'm glad that it exists. As more and more, one of the topics of this week was all, talking about how PlayStation is, getting more conservative with their output going forward. And I understand on their part. But I keep trying to tell people, I'm like, yo, like the innovation that you're looking for is in the indie space. Like, give
Hmm.
the reason why these obscure Sony titles that don't sell is because people just aren't trying them. Like, people get upset that they're not funding these projects going forward, but it's like y'all didn't show up when they were. Like, what do you expect?
Exactly.
Um so yeah, I try to like tell as many people to try indie games and all of that good stuff. Um, but yeah, that's our Nintendo indie Summer of Arcade commercial.
Play more indie games, people.
Please do.
Yeah.
But Tom, so I got a question
Mm.
for you. So you've have early memories of gaming. You spent too much money on your Xbox 360. How does all of that, get you into starting a group for casual gamers to come together and find each other and play together? Like, what led you to that? Why did you decide? Why did you know that you had to make DC Gaming Group?
Well, I mean, I just want to share that love with people, you know? Um, like Creston was really the big mastermind I credit to in talking about the foundation of DC Gaming Group. Because, kind of especially with the online era of like the 360, when I just realized that there really were a lot of people out there who were interested in playing games. Um, to try to also bring it back to like the people that you know, for example, going into N64 games, playing GoldenEye. like sitting around the same TV in one place. And that sort of environment is something that we were losing, which I mean, I can't say it's like better or worse necessarily, but it's a different kind of way we play games nowadays. And if we were to able to get people back together and just to couch co-op, to like be able to hang out, have some pizzas with friends old and new, that like that would be awesome. And that was kind of where it all started. We just we just knew we wanted that.
Awesome. So I would say that you are very active on the server. Your name always pops up. You are really good with having a very informed opinion at the right time, but you don't necessarily host a lot of the events. So people might not necessarily know your face, but you are one of the, you're a figurehead. You're a life. You're some of the lifeblood of DCGG. Would you mind telling us like what you're doing, like constantly working on behind the scenes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to everyone who's like watching, especially who's already part of the DC Gaming Group community, um, I consider myself the community manager, so I'm doing things behind the scenes and just kind of like checking in with people, making sure that people's needs and desires are being met, and what kind of improvements we can make on various like features and other tools that we use with the help of, yourself, Justin, Creston, with other members like, Kev, coming up with scripts. Oh man, there's so much possibility into the things that we can do to just improve the user experience in the online presence of DC Gaming Group. As for myself, like I said, I try to like oversee it a little bit and be sort of um, one pillar of support when people need it, and also as a sort of I don't want to say a voice of reason. That's not quite the right phrase I'm thinking of, but to make sure that people are on the same page about the messaging that we want to put out there, how we can continue to foster this awesome community, because we want to keep DC Gaming Group open and friendly, casual, fun for as many people as possible. And even though we're called DC Gaming Group, we're not actually limiting ourselves to the DC area, necessarily. That's just, we're going to be able to hang out in person. We're not going to make people drive across the country to do it. So we tried starting local, and the online presence has definitely allowed us to open up a lot more, a lot faster than we expected. And so far, it's been going very well, in no small part to you, Justin, and for you, Creston. So thank you guys. And to our audience, thank you everyone out there watching right now. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. So when it comes to community management for DC Gaming Group, I guess what is expected from, if you come to DC Gaming Group, what's expected from you as a member? Like what sort of behavior are we looking for? What are some of the rules? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we do have a lot of written resources that we try to point people to. We have a series of guidelines, community guidelines, as well as a list of what we kind of refer to as our tenets or beliefs of what makes a healthy community. And when you join DC Gaming Group as a new member, we want to make sure that you have a good time. So for the existing members, we ask for people to be kind and respectful, and in part a little bit patient as well. And we don't want to alienate anyone who is probably going to be intimidated into joining this ever growing community. And many of us who have been part of the gaming group since the beginning, or since the beginning of some of our regular events, such as our Among Us nights or our Jackbox nights, who would have been playing this for months and months, or maybe even years before we started hosting it as an organization. playing these games, I should say. We want to make sure that newcomers will feel comfortable getting into the game and learning it themselves. So, I mean, these are very broad terms, and I could get into the specifics, uh, which we have done written down. So I won't bore people with the details necessarily. But the ideal is that just be welcoming and to use our our public Discord channels and our public methods of communication so that everyone's kind of on the same page of what people are confused about and where where people want to be heard, because overall we are kind of playing games with each other and it is a public space, and if we don't tell each other where we're interested in hanging out, then we can't improve that kind of experience for people. So yeah, just overall, we want everyone to be welcoming to newcomers and for newcomers to feel like their voice is heard when they join the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely second that. I think everybody, the cool thing about, our community is that, we all come from all sorts of, different walks of life. And, we all game differently as well, and then we also have varying skill levels. And so the big thing is just, we all meet somewhere in the middle somewhere, right? You may not, um, we have, even between us three, we all, converge on, various, different games, but um, is there's other areas that we also, uh, branch off and, and get into more interests and stuff. So, but the main thing is that, we want to make sure that it's a respectful, mature, welcoming community for folks from all walks of life, and so we've thankfully we've done that, and we've had really good feedback from new members. Shout out to Time Wizard and I think it's Alex Experience. I think I can never. Let me make sure I get his name right.
Yes, it is a combination of the word Alex and experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly what it is. It's
Yes.
hard, I don't know how to say it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just came in and said, "Hey, like I enjoy you all. I enjoy what you all are doing, and help boost the server." And so that even helps with stuff like this, like when we're recording on Discord. So having that boost, now allows us to have better audio, and when we're doing more events, to have more bandwidth, doing videos and things of that sort. So thank you all for boosting the server, and thank you all for being part of the community. We really appreciate that, because you definitely didn't have to do that. So yeah, but yeah, all in all, we're all here to play video games. I feel like as gamers, as a just as an overall community, I feel like we forget that. Like we forget that we're just like we're here to play video games. Like we're here to have fun. Like why are we making this so complicated? Why are we adding all of this extra stuff to it? Do you like the game? If you don't, okay, like don't attack another person for what they like. Like it makes no sense. But we don't have that here in our community. I think we all understand that video games are for fun, and it's a great way to meet people.
I'll just follow your sentiments up, everything that you guys have said. I am, I don't know, I'm a result of the culture that you guys have built. I showed up and felt comfortable enough to stay, and felt like it was an open and inviting experience enough to make myself available to have responsibilities in the group. And now I feel like I'm slowly earning my that staff position, coach around staff position that you guys have bestowed upon me. And I feel like anybody who there's no expectation of responsibility, but at the same time, we expect everybody to come and interact with each other as if you did have the minimum expectation of just not alienating a single person. Um, like we do joke. We have a couple members, especially like who've known each other longer. People get on you for your obsession with Halo Creston. Those people who have met me make fun of me because even though I'm a young person, I'm very old at heart. They make fun of that. So it's that, but it's also it's all jabs that you give right back. We laugh. I mean, we literally play a game every Sunday where the goal is to kill everybody else, and that on paper should get heated, but at the same time, people just laugh and it's good. That was a good game. Let's do it again. So that's really the attitude and spirit that DCGG exudes, and I'm glad that we've been able to keep that up, even though we're 300 plus strong. Not
Yeah.
a lot of people can say that. Not only because you have 300 plus members and no real big outbreaks and a schism down the middle, and half the people went that way and half the people went the other way. Like, nah, it's just not happening here. It's not what we do. So thank you to you guys for actually starting this group.
Well, I mean, right back at you, Justin. Thank you for, for everything. You've gone more far and above the expectations that we really had, especially for, at the time when we started asking, like, hey, if you were interested in hosting some like event nights or anything like that. Like you take the position seriously, and that's why we knew we can trust you with things that, you really should be a, you know, one of the pillars that helps hold up DC Gaming Group. Like without you, like we would definitely be lesser without you. So,
Oh,
thank you,
Yeah,
man.
I definitely second that. And I gained a friend out of this too. Like we met on the server, and we um we were able to form a friendship, over
yeah,
time. So I really appreciate that. It's stuff like this that this is why we started it, because we know like the power of you know just playing games with each other is something special. So, but yeah, thank you for all the stuff that you've done, and you've been a huge help and with that. So,
you
all
guys
right.
rock.
Um,
Well,
well, enough of the
moving,
sappiness. Let's get into
yeah,
some
right. Moving
tabletop
on to
stuff.
exactly. So, I've mentioned more than once on this podcast how much I love board games. The person who has also, is someone who I know is far beyond me in that realm is Tom here, our Detective Tomato. Uh, you are you know board games very well. You've been playing them for a long time. From what I'm hearing that you're like what you're getting, you have a bit of a collection. I would love pretty much. I don't want to. Like I said, I don't want to add on a whole another half an hour. I know we can talk forever. But real quick, like same way with video games. Like, what got you into board gaming, and like what are you playing now?
Yeah, I think in order to try to keep it a little bit brief, I did get into board games a little bit later in life. Although if I really like dig deep, if you guys have ever heard of, I think it was called Pokemon To Be a Master. It was an old board game. Yeah. This is like this weird obscure thing that some people like know what it is because, you know, what like 20-ish years ago, most board games that people were playing would have been something like Monopoly is what I always compare things to. And
Exactly.
this weird Pokemon board game where you go around the board and you like actually catch Pokemon using like dice rolls, and you like battle gym trainers and stuff. And the goal is to like beat the Elite Four at the end. Uh,
What?
yeah, it was really cool. And because of the way it was set up, you still go through different regions and can only catch specific Pokemon in certain regions, and you can put them in your team. I think it was a team of 6 or something like that. As a kid, I also didn't read the rules very well,
Yeah,
but
Nah,
that
who
would have
needs
been
rules?
yeah. So that would have been probably the first like in-depth board game that I played. And when I got into college, so this would have been like, 10, 15 years ago, um, I was introduced more into the realm of what I call modern board games. And what was the first one I really played? I think it must have been Zombicide,
ooh, good
where
one.
yeah, a board game, maybe it was procedurally generated board where you play survivors and zombies get like placed around the map. And the idea of well, first of all, a procedurally generated board I thought was really cool. So you have hard components, paper and cardboard and plastic, and every time you play, it could be totally different. Again, going back to that Pokemon game I was talking about,
Hmm.
that that element of randomness and sort of customization, different experiences every time, I thought was really cool. And the minifigures themselves, the plastic
Yeah.
zombies and characters were also really neat. And from there, I just kind of learned a little bit more. I got into other genres, stuff like party games like Codenames was really popular among people now.
Hmm.
And then I browse Kickstarter pretty frequently for just like whatever news coming out. BoardGameGeek.com is a really
Yes.
good resource for finding new board games, discovering that there's hobby shops all over the place. DC's got plenty of them, and just like finding other people who are passionate about that and maybe learning about new ones. So I guess that's kind of the gist of how I got into board gaming and where I'm at right now. I'm I'm actually waiting for a bunch more to come into the mail. Kickstarter's dangerous, man. It's when you just be
uh,
like, oh, $60 here, $80 here, and then all of a sudden, like 10 of them come into the mail all at once. And it's amazing. It's a lot of fun, but you're like, gosh, I'm never gonna have time to play these now.
that's why I haven't started the Kickstarter stuff yet. I see how addictive it is. I know myself, and I know I'm gonna just dive into it. But
Yeah,
but like you said, finding other people to play is like,
yeah,
that's the biggest thing. That is the hurdle of board games. Like you have to be well, unless you're doing tabletop simulator or you're doing some crazy finagled thing where both people have copies of the game and you're just telling each other things. But like you pretty much be in the same room, looking the person in the face and eye. Uh, so we were just discussing before we actually started recording, and in the past we have talked about how we are eventually going to try to do a board game night. Another board game group, not unlike Slayers Club or Fight Club or Arcade. We're going to try to get a board game group going. Um, so can we tell people about really what our ideas, our plans are?
a little bit. When we first started the DC Gaming Group, I was actually trying to come up with a strategy for getting I guess, tabletop division of DC Gaming Group together. And shortly afterwards, unfortunately, the coronavirus hit the United States, and we had, it's not like we could really even think about seeing just massive groups of people together in one place, especially strangers. So, we really put that on hold, and I think given a little bit of time, and once we hear more about what the CDC recommends and when the state of public health allows for people to really see each other in person, will we really open the discussion for playing uh, board games in person is like something that we really want to look into. That said, there are conventions that will be going on later in the year. We're sort of making a loose, I shouldn't really give it a date necessarily, but closer to the end of the year, I guess I can say. when some conventions are getting together, some of them being board game themed, some of them local to DC, some in other parts of the United States. I want to shout out Gen Con right now only because it's like biggest board game convention in the US. I think they're interested in doing a convention this year. They're in Indianapolis, so not close to us, but seeing places like that and what their sort of model is going to be like for opening up a public venue for a public venue and a physical space for board gaming might give us some ideas into it. But otherwise, I think really we'll still need to discuss the general interest that already exists in the DC gaming group community as it stands and see if other communities local to us are interested in whether like joining forces or sending people their way and vice versa to our way. The tabletop community can often be a little bit insular because of the very nature that you need people in person to play a lot of board games, right? But also, when you already find people to play board games with regularly, you might not always be open to adding new people because like the games that you like playing don't support one more person. Could be as simple
Exactly.
as that. That's why I like, as a side note, that's why I like games like Codenames when you really can just be like, hey, come here, let's all play this game.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. Um, and so those are the kinds of games that we would really start um, bringing out to any potential foreseeable future board game or tabletop game themed meetups. Does that answer your question, Justin?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it had to be. It was a broad question that
Yeah,
was expecting a broad answer because we are in the middle of the end of a pandemic. Like we have no clue what's going to happen, and we've been looking at places. We might scout some more over the summer, but in reality, we can't say definitively like, oh, this date at this time, join DCGG for board game night. It's
yeah,
just not going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months. We don't know what's going to happen next week.
yeah,
So, we're doing our best and staying safe and double masking and all that good stuff.
yeah.
But yeah. I do uh, want to say, however, that we there if you are a video gamer and you found this group and you were ever curious about board gaming, there are a lot of low to no barrier to entry board games. Real simple. If you feel intimidated by the prospect of like, oh well, like there's a lot of mechanics in there. Like that's not every game. Some games, yeah, some games are going to take you 8 hours and you're going to be in a room all day. It's going to happen. Don't play Twilight Imperium or something like that your first time around. But there are plenty of games you roll dice and something happens and you'll laugh and you'll smile and you'll enjoy your beer, like it'll be
Yes.
it'll be a good time. So I want people to when we do finally do get it up and going, just come through. I'm sure between Tom and I we will have some really fun party games or games that aren't necessarily party games, but they're very simple to play. And go at your own pace. If all of a sudden you feel like, oh wow, that was really fun, but I want more of a challenge. I want more of a game. Like, okay, well we got those too. Uh, so that's just that on the tabletop theme.
Yeah, the realm of modern board gaming is so vast. There's a variety of
Yeah.
experiences. Whether it's games that support like 10, actually 30. I have a game that supports more than 30 people at once. It's called
Hmm.
Good lord.
yeah, it's called Two Rooms and a Boom. I
Oh
think.
yes,
Yes.
that I've never actually played it, and
Yeah.
I really want to. I'm so glad you have it. That means I can cross that off my list. There's no need to get it.
Yeah.
You only need one person in your group of friends to have it, and then you have it pretty much.
Yeah, a fascinating game about lying to each other.
Yes, lying to
Um,
people's faces.
yeah.
and then trying to blow up the president. No, that's a fictional president within the game.
Yeah, it's a very chaotic and fun time for larger groups of people. And then other games where it's like a one versus one strategy, but done with like a little bit of twist. So obviously you can compare it maybe to something like checkers or chess, but maybe now everything's in a 3x3 grid and you start swapping cards in and out in order to form your strategy. Things like that. So
I
there's a
know what game you're
lot of
talking about. That's a great game.
yeah, so there's a lot of varying levels of complexity with games that you might not have heard of, but you might be interested in. And if for anyone who's watching has questions about like, what the heck is he talking about? What's two booms in a room? Just feel free to ask, whether in the general chats of the Discord, or specifically in the tabletop channel of Discord. And eventually, we'll start having these meetup events and really opening up that conversation to a broader audience.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait till we, are in person again. That's really, where we can, make some really cool relationships uh, and have some good times. And especially, after a year of us being, locked indoors for so long, it'll just be great to, get out and play games with one another and meet people and talk uh, so I'm really looking forward to when we're able to do in person events again, because that's where I feel like um, people will really see what we're trying to do with DC Gaming Group. So, but just a little while longer. I feel like everybody is slowly but surely, becoming vaccinated. Everything's been opened up, this week. So, in terms of vaccination sites, I have my appointment next week, so I'm excited about that. Um, so yeah, hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have something scheduled and we can finally all meet, in person. So
Yeah, I'm excited to see what some of y'all look like. I have like a mental picture, but
Yeah. Definitely. If I turn my head a little bit, it don't really look the same no more.
But speaking of future events, DCGG, we have a couple of things that we know are planned and are set. These are of course still virtual. We're still being safe. On the 22nd, we have our trivia. That's exactly a week from today, right?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we mentioned this last week, but it's one of my personal favorite events, so I'm gonna make sure that it's discussed as often as possible. Once again, Ran, Camelback of Liquor, our what was it, our second episode, second or third? I think believe it was second. Was our guest there? If you want to know more about her, you can go back to that episode and watch that. She's our trivia master. She does a fantastic job. Always hilarious questions, and she always has a funny story behind why she even asked that question, which is even better. Win lose, it does not matter. We do dogpile on the person in first place though. We do team up on you, but you deserve it because clearly you're smarter than the rest of us. So you're going to get some ribs, going to get some jabs. And then on May the 4th, we still have our May the 4th day coming up. And I feel like the energy is palpable within Palpatine inside the Discord because even just today I think it's actually going on right now. I kind of want to get back to it. There's a Star Wars conversation going on. We're turning to Star Wars versus Star Trek. Which is another thing. Once again, I think it's a good example of how silly we can be. We're not actually arguing. I feel like in another group that could, that's fighting word.
Absolutely.
Saying Star versus Star Wars. But that's like the last thing I saw was someone put up a meme of data from Star Wars Next Generation. I'm not sorry, wow, Star Trek The Next Generation. So like we're meme fighting. It's a whole silly thing, but I'm sure the Trekkies are going to get together and demand a Star Trek day. You know what? We'll give it to them. They have to watch their boring TV show. We might as well give them something.
It is boring, I will say.
I more than once. My dad's a Trekkie. It was always interesting for me in that house because I'm like I can't watch this with you.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
but yeah,
the only
other
one
than
I got
that,
into was like Deep Space Nine, I believe.
Mm.
I think that's
that is a season. I'm surprised. Like it's. I mean, I don't know whether it's the original TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. I think that's the older ones, and then of course you have the newer ones: Star Trek Discovery. There's a Picard TV show.
Mm.
Oh, Lower Decks. Apparently, I haven't watched that. Apparently, it
Mm.
kind of looks like Family Guy meets Star Trek. I don't know. I never actually watched it. But apparently, that's actually
interesting.
pretty good, even if you don't like Star Trek. So it's on CBS All Access. I don't have CBS All Access. Um, but maybe one day they'll put it elsewhere, and I'll be able to watch it. Shifty eyes. Um, But other than that, the weekend is coming up. If I remember correctly, Slayers Club is not happening on Friday.
Nope,
Taking a
we're
break.
yeah taking a break. Trying to kind of recalibrate and figure out like inject some new activities and possibly like some new games into the mix. Um, so far, if I had my way, I would do Halo every weekend. But
Mhm.
I'm not trying to I'm not trying to wear that out. But um, we've had recently we've had a few fun Halo nights. Um, so Call of Duty is interesting. Call of Duty Cold War, compared to our participation with Modern Warfare is definitely dropped. And I think it's just a matter of um, Cold War is like one of the most unnecessary like releases for Call of Duty. I mean, you could say that about pretty much all of them after Modern Warfare 2, but um, no, this one like they could have taken their time. Like Modern Warfare was just so good that they didn't need to push out a. I mean, and on top of that, like Cold War is extremely still broken, a lot of it. So I feel like we're still just kind of in beta with that game. But yeah, a lot of people just didn't pick up Cold War. So we're gonna just start getting back into battle royales with starting with like Apex, and then we're still aiming to try and do a custom Warzone night where if we get I think the minimum is like 25 people, so we'll have to put the word out, but and get people excited about it. But I would love like a custom like battle royale room, where it's just all of us, and I think that would be a great time. So that's something that we're planning for the future. But yeah, this week we're hanging out, and we'll have some pickup games. I'm sure people will be playing, Outriders, and I know Apex has a new game mode out right now, so a lot of people will be on that. But I believe next week we'll jump right back into Apex.
Okay. And then Saturday, as always, is arcade. I'm looking forward to that. I'm jumping back into Mario Kart this week.
Mm.
Uh, I've been called out by the Mario Kart regulars, so
Uh
I got to
oh.
go back in there. Uh, so that's definitely going to be
I think
Saturday night.
I'm gonna try to
Chris,
make
are
an
you
appearance
going?
as well.
Oh yes, okay, good, good, good. All right, this
Uh,
is this is heating up. This is
no, I
heating
feel
up.
like
We're
I
gonna.
gotta show up too.
I
Everyone's
mean,
gonna be
you,
there.
you you had we asked you what your favorite console was, and you had the audacity to start off with the Switch. If we
I
don't
play the
see
Switch a
you,
lot. Hey,
is what I'm saying. If we don't see you at Mario Kart, because I know you own Mario Kart, you own the Switch, therefore you own Mario Kart. I think that's how that goes.
yeah, but
Absolutely.
Animal Crossing, man, I still play it every day.
Every day.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
Animal
man. So
Crossing, and I want to get Monster Hunter Rise.
I was just
I
gonna
got No
ask you
More
that.
Heroes. I beat No More Heroes 1 recently, and I just started 2, but then I got like other PS4 games, and I'm like, oh my God,
Quick
how do
quick
I juggle?
question. So
Yeah.
I recently picked up No More Heroes 1 and 2. Was How did you like No More Heroes 1?
I thought one was a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's over the top. It's very silly.
I love it.
It is a lot of it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I
Okay.
love it too. And you haven't started two, have you?
Nah. Uh-uh.
Okay. Yeah. I think
Have you
that
played them before on the Wii when they were original? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I
Go
played
ahead, Tom. I'm
the
sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. Because I actually did play the original No More Heroes on the Wii. So this was like my second time going through it for Switch. Um, and it actually still does like hold up pretty well. There's a little bit of like, you know, old game control jankiness, but it has a lot of charm. And then when I think about it as well as, if I'm not mistaken, No More Heroes was probably the highest profile M-rated game for the Wii at the time. I'm not even sure if they really had M-rated games up until No More Heroes.
Hmm.
And it's a big game about like literally chopping off limbs and blood spraying everywhere. And it's really cartoonish. So it's just like, what the heck is this game? So I'm excited for No More Heroes 3. 3 looks like, not that 2 was bad. There's a lot of cool things about 2. And I haven't played through the whole thing myself, but there is some charm that was missing from the original game that I think is coming back into No More Heroes 3, just as like in the broadest non-spoiler sense of things. I'm excited for that.
Did you play the what was that? It was like the indie version of No More Heroes. It was I think it was last year
It's
it came
Travis
out.
strikes again or something.
Travis
Yes,
Strikes Again.
that was it.
I have not played it because I watched the I guess it would have been like one of the main gameplay trailers of the game. And to me it looked very repetitive.
Hmm.
So I th- I think and like the reviews weren't like too favorable. I think everyone's like, ah, it's just like a whatever kind of game.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like Suda 51, the Goichi Suda was the director of the No More Heroes games. It almost felt like he was kind of trying to like recapture things with, but also forgetting what made at least No More Heroes 1 really special. I'm actually like a big fan of Goichi Suda's work. Like he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's makes a lot of bizarre games. He made Killer 7 if you guys have ever played that. It's available for Steam now. And
Oh, really?
yeah, it was I don't know what the term was called for the GameCube era, but there was like 4 or 5 different games that were supposed to be powerhouse games for the GameCube to sell the console. One of them was Resident Evil 4. Everyone knows Resident Evil 4.
Hmm.
Another one was Killer 7. They were all those two games and a few others were meant to like really push the console. And Killer 7
Oh,
does a lot of like weird, bizarre shit,
it was
just
Yeah.
like No More Heroes.
it was part of that. What do they call it? The Capcom
The Capcom
4,
5,
5. Yeah.
but only
Right.
4 were ever released.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was weird. I watched a documentary on YouTube about it recently, and it was interesting. But yeah, Goichi Suda. He's a very quirky dude. He makes a lot of weird ass games, very violent games. And that all to say that for Travis Strikes Again, it seemed like just from an outsider's perspective, which I don't often like judging things without having experienced them myself.
Hmm.
So I may go play it at some point because there seems to be some plot elements that link, you know,
Into
all
3.
the games together into three.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
going to say. That's the only reason why
yeah.
I asked.
So I'm curious, and I may play it eventually, but at the same time, it does seem a little bit repetitive and potentially boring, which would be maddening considering that I'm in the middle of many games right now, such as, for PS4, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2. I want to get Monster Hunter Rise. I'm playing a bunch of multiplayer games right now. Like, I just got into Dead by Daylight. Um, like I also said, I'm playing Animal Crossing. I guess I'm going to be playing Mario Kart on Saturday. It's just, there's so many games to play. Cool.
uh, so yeah, still running through the weekend, I guess. We
Yes.
have Sunday is Among Us. That's weekly. I say that not knowing if there is an official one, but official or not, we everyone hearing this should know. If you don't already know, the Discord is open to you. Feel free to organize on here, and we have a lot of people who will teach you how to play. And it's very noob friendly, as the group likes to say. But yeah, that's pretty much the weekend. All the events that I know that are coming up. Other than what Game Club is on the 30th. Yeah, that's on the 30th. Game Club for this month is Control, which I finally started. I finally was able to take myself away from Outriders long enough to play it, and I'm already in my. I'm barely in. I barely started. I don't even have the gun yet.
Mm.
But I I remember the very first thing was my very first thought going in was, "Wow, this is beautiful." Like I was blown away just how even just the building, like when you start off in the lobby and it has like the Federal Bureau of Control, and I'm like this is gorgeous. Like already this is beautiful. And then I remember running around, found the janitor. The janitor's like the elevator's that way. Run over to the elevator. I'm like, "Whoa, no, this is like the exact same hallway as the beginning of the game." Oh, like I wonder how this hallway compares to that hallway. And I run back around, and then it's a dead end now. And I'm like, okay, so this game's already messing with my brain. Cool, good to know. Good to know that this thing is going to be like Amnesia, except probably not as scary. So yeah, I'm ready to hop back in that. I think if there's not a team of people who want to play Outriders, I'll probably will just hop into Control because I do need to beat that within 15 days. But from what I hear, it's actually not that long. If you make it not that long, apparently
Yeah.
you can make it longer than if you want to. So
Yeah.
I'll do a couple of side missions, but I'll be done with it by the 30th.
Yeah. I'm on the second DLC for Control, so I have about um maybe like a couple more hours into it. So I'm gonna knock that out probably like this weekend. After I'm on the last boss on Doom Eternal. So
I
um
heard about that the other night.
Yeah, I was actually watching you play for a while, and then I tuned back, and I'm like, wait a sec, did he just rage quit? Where'd he go?
yeah, nah, I was like, you know what? It's one of those bosses where you just gotta like sleep on it and come back and be refreshed, because it's like he literally has like, I think it's like 5 stages, and I'm on
Mm.
like the last 2 stages, and the last two are like combined, so they don't give you a checkpoint in between the
Mm,
last two, so you have to like beat it all in one. So it's like I was like, you know what? I just gotta do this another day, because this is not. I don't have the energy or the willpower to power through anymore. So, but that game still is one of my favorite games still. So it's trying to get through that, and then I'll get into Control.
Well, I will say, shout out to games that give you checkpoints during boss battles.
yeah.
Thank you.
That normalize that. Like
Mhm.
that needs to be in more games.
And it's funny because I'm like fresh off of playing Ninja Gaiden 2,
Mm,
which is an old game. It's 2008. I think that came out, and it's very old school in that there's no checkpoints in the boss. So like, especially the last boss was like 3 stages, and so you fuck up on any of those stages, you go all the way back to the beginning and do it. So I was like, you know what, just sit here and do it and knock it out. But yeah, checkpoints and bosses is, please more, do more of that.
Especially when they have the audacity to have a cut scene for the transition between the stages. And
mm,
then if the cutscene's unskippable, so like not you're beating my ass like for the 13th time, and I have to watch this cutscene again. No, no
mm.
more. It's 2021. We're not doing that anymore.
Why
Just
d Why does that traumatize me, but I can't even think of a specific example because it's happened so much.
Right?
Yeah,
It's just ubiquitous at this point.
Yeah.
absolutely. That was a very like uh late 90s 2000 game design trope, like just beat you over the head, and then you got to sit there and like think about your life and your decisions and stuff, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to play this anymore, like I'm done. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up the episode. Again, this was episode 7 uh with Justin, aka the Real Pipe Gamer, and our guest Tom, Detective Tomato. And we will be back, I think, next week. Who's next on our list? We have one,
It's got to
two.
be not a bot.
Yeah, Not a Bot, Creates Activity,
Yes.
and Gigi Chucho. So one of those. We'll see whoever's available. But yeah, we'll be here same day, maybe the same time. We'll see. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Also follow us on our social. We're on Instagram at DC Gaming Group. Also on Twitter, same handle. And then also on Facebook, same handle. So please join us. And then also, if this is your first time hearing about DC Gaming Group, come join us. Go to DCGG.GG to learn more about the group, and then also there should be a link on the site for you to join our Discord. So hopefully we see you there. But um, outside of that, we will see you next week. All right. Thank you all for joining.
I'll see you guys later. Bye.
See everyone.